Starting us off in at number 10, Mercury. Let's begin our list with a mutant who debuted in August of 2003 in New Mutants Volume 2, Issue 2. Mercury, aka Cecily Kincaid, has the ability to mimic mercury, hence her codename. Her body is made up of a non-toxic metal that resembles mercury, and she can reshape it or solidify at will, despite still being relatively inexperienced in shapeshifting. She can cling to solid surfaces thanks to her molecular adhesion powers, and has exhibited super strength at times, although the full extent of that strength is still undetermined. Now, she doesn't require food or water, although she does eat to make herself fit in better with others. She ended up being selected by Emma Frost to be part of her Hellion squad, along with a few other of her fellow teenage pals at the Institute, including our next number, in at 9, Rockslide. Rockslide, aka Santo Vaccaro, first debuted in 2003's New Mutants Volume 2, Issue 3, in September of that year. He is a mutant with the ability to transform into a golem form, which he does by assimilating surrounding rock and earth into a Gestalt shell, which he can also detonate at will to cause an explosion. And this form gives him superhuman strength, durability, and endurance. After traveling from his home of Boston to live at the Xavier Institute, he began to befriend the soon-to-be Hellions, with Emma Frost selecting him to be a part of the Hellion squad. He's also got quite the fun personality. Santo dreams of being a superhuman wrestling star. Initially, he was portrayed as a bit of a bully, but now the more that we get to know his character, the more that he's grown, becoming more good-natured and fiercely protective of his friends. He also loves murder mystery television and Dance Dance Revolution, so he's pretty relatable. It's also worth noting that he was one of the students who managed to retain his powers after M-Day. Moving on to number 8, Armor. Armor, aka Hisako Akichi, is a Japanese mutant who first appeared in October of 2004 in Astonishing X-Men Issue 4. Her mutant powers are pretty rad. She has the ability to generate an impenetrable psionic exoskeleton body armor that gives her superhuman strength, reflexes, agility, endurance, stamina, dexterity, durability, and invulnerability. Not too shabby, huh? Her goal was always to become an X-Man, and she went through some pretty traumatic stuff while she was a student at Xavier's. After the alien villain Ord attacked the school, her best friend Wing had been injected with a cure for his mutant ability, and eventually he committed suicide because of it, with Armor, along with Kitty Pryde and other students at the time, all being trapped inside the danger room with his reanimated corpse. That happened when the room became sentient and hostile towards them, so not a good experience for her, needless to say. In at number 7, Blindfold. Blindfold is Ruth Aldine, a character who first debuted in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3, Issue 7 in 2005, despite being mentioned several months prior in the same series as Issue 4. Now, she was created by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, and she's got some wickedly powerful abilities. She's a telepath, is capable of retrocognition, clairvoyance, precognition, reality anchoring, astral projecting, and psychic energy manifestation. Over the years, she's had some other powers that she's lost or regained, including telekinesis, chaos manipulation, and accelerated probability. Now, ever since she was a child, Ruth has worn a blindfold over her eyes in order to cover up her mutation. She was born without eyes, but has powerful psionic abilities. Now, her powers are neutralized when she's in the presence of another precognitive, like Destiny, who explained that when two precogs are in close proximity to each other, it's like they're two magnets pressed together positive pole to positive pole, negatively affecting each other's powers. These days, after Dawn of X, Ruth's predictions about her future proved to be true. She knew that there would be a utopia for most mutants, but because of her precognition abilities and Moira McTaggart's demands that no precogs be allowed on Krakoa, she was not able to join her peers. And at number 6, Bling. Roxy Washington is Bling, with an exclamation point. A mutant who attended the Xavier Institute and was a part of the X-Men in Training Squad, first appearing in X-Men Volume 2, Issue 171 in 2005. She's the daughter of a celebrity couple, two hip-hop artists named Daddy Libido and Sexy Mother. And because of this, she had often been targeted by kidnappers or assassins because of her parents' fame. She had no desire to follow in her family's footsteps, and being a mutant who had a diamond form and superhuman durability, and an ability to project diamond shards to boot, she came to the Xavier Institute and was trained under Gambit under his squad. She's also bisexual and had a big ol' crush on Rogue. I mean, who doesn't? Aside from her genius powers, she's got a genius level intellect, she's a master engineer, and at one point she was recruited for Angel's board at Worthington Industries. She's also not overly caught up in the mutant-human dynamic, she kind of prefers to just not deal with it. To each their own. And at number 5, Trance. Next up we have another mutant who debuted in 2005, Trance. Trance first hit the scene in New X-Men Academy X issue 12. Trance, whose name is Hope Abbott, is a mutant with a particularly interesting power. She has an energetic astral projective form in which she projects her astral self and can travel over far distances in this form, as well as avoid physical injury and can produce a disruptive energy surge. The first time her powers manifested in her hometown of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, it looked as if a ghost had come out of her body, and it actually gave her father a heart attack. She was then sent by her parents to the Xavier Institute in hopes of her being cured of this mutation. Culturally sophisticated and voted the best dressed by her classmates, Hope never really made the cut when it came to the formation of a new X-Men team, but she stayed at the Institute to train further. She has a decent amount of untapped power that she's yet to learn to control, like creating arcing energy surges that can stun foes, and bend metal or concrete. In at number 4, Graymalkin. Jumping forward a few years for this one, let's talk about Jonas Graymalkin, a character who first appeared in Young X-Men issue 1 in June of 2008. Jonas is quite old, narratively speaking. He was born in pre-revolutionary America and spent his youth coming to terms with his sexuality, having realized that he was gay. His father caught him with another boy one day in their family's barn, and believing that Jonas was an abomination and the spawn of the devil, because he was super Christian, he beat Jonas to death. Or at least he thought Jonas had died. His father buried him alive in the nearby woods, and this is what triggered Jonas's mutant powers, allowing him to survive around 200 years underground, which just so happened to be under the Xavier Institute. Turns out he's actually an ancestor of Charles Xavier's. Now, when a Sentinel attack destroyed the school, he was unearthed. So, what exactly are his powers? It's something called darkness empowerment. It's related to light exposure. The darker it is, the more powerful he becomes. This includes giving him superhuman strength, nigh invulnerability, longevity, or potentially immortality on that front since he survived without food or water for 200 years, and of course, night vision. Moving on to number 3, Transonic. Transonic, also known as Laurie Tremette, debuted in July of 2010 in Uncanny X-Men issue 526. She is a mutant with supersonic flight, capable of not only propelling her body through the air at transonic speeds, but also can change her physical properties in order to have better maneuverability in the air, which she does at higher altitudes or when traveling at high speeds. She's been able to make herself look like a large flying fish or a missile. When Laurie first appeared in Uncanny X-Men, she was a blue teenager, quite literally, having difficulty coping with her mutation. When the X gene manifested in her, it took no real form, but it caused her skin to change color, for her to lose her hair, and gave her flu-like symptoms. So she tried to commit suicide by jumping off a building, but in doing so, it actually activated her powers. Eventually, she joined up with Hope Summers as one of the 5 Lights, becoming a prominent character in the Generation Hope series. Now, aside from her powers, she's an incredibly smart and thoughtful mutant, setting logic as the rationale for her actions, and getting annoyed at her teammates when they confuse things like ethics and morals. She's also Canadian, so. In at number 2, Brandon Sharp. Brandon Sharp, also known as Stryker, first hit the scene in August of 2010 in Avengers Academy issue 1. He has the power of electrokinesis, capable of generating huge amounts of electricity and then manipulating it. This includes creating lightning blasts from his hands and eyes, electromagnetic shields to use for defense, and he can propel himself into the air and fly via electrokinetic flight, up to 40 miles per hour. Unfortunately, he is a bit of a twat. He's a self-centered and egotistical character who's focused on his own gain rather than helping others. Brandon had a bit of a rough upbringing though. His father was an adulterous politician and his mother was fame-hungry, who made him become a child actor. Brandon's manager, Rick, tried to take advantage of the young boy, and that's where Brandon's powers first manifested, frying the limo that they were in and severely injuring Rick. And finally, in at number 1, Velocidad. Gabriel Coelho is Velocidad, a mutant who debuted in 2010 in Uncanny X-Men issue 527. He's another Generation Hope mutant who is a part of the 5 Lights with Hope Summers, and kind of also had a thing with her until she caught him making out with Pixie. Unfortunately, he met his end almost 9 years later, dying in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5 issue 21. Now, Gabriel is capable of doing something called localized time manipulation. He can slow down the movement of time around him, but remains unaffected by that slowdown. So it does make him appear as if he's moving incredibly fast. But really, he's not a speedster, just a time manipulator, which is what everyone actually initially thought his powers were. Now, his powers speed up his aging greatly though, which is what happened after he was detained and forced to use his powers for ONE, the Office of National Emergency. He was merged with Warlock in order to keep him alive, and eventually when Wolverine came across him, he asked Logan to kill him, which the mutant did in an act of mercy. Told you it didn't end well.
Number 10. Kid Omega. Kid Omega, aka Quentin Quire, has also been described as an Omega level telepath and telekinetic before. He joined up with the Xavier Institute later in the new X-Men series in issue 134. Quickly, Quentin became a prized student of Xavier's, who saw within him a great potential, as brilliant and as talented as he was. However, over time and with the revelation that he had been adopted, he became more rebellious and egotistical. He questioned Professor X and the professor's dream for the world, for humans and mutant kind to coexist in harmony. He began using the mutant drug Kick and created a gang called the Omega Gang, which set out attacking humans. Eventually, he was beaten down by the Stepford Cuckoos and he reformed, though he would continue to be known for having a bit of an attitude and a rebellious streak. But hey, isn't that why we love him? Or is that why we hate him? I don't know. You tell me. You be the judge. Quentin Quire, love or hate? Number 9. Prodigy. Prodigy is David Elaine, a mutant who is often associated with the X-Men and who attended the Xavier Institute. He came to the famous mutant school after trying to hide his powers. David has always been a smart kid, but he started noticing one day that he knew things that he simply just couldn't have known, and that he didn't remember learning. It turned out that David had been telepathically absorbing knowledge and skill sets from the minds of those around him. Feeling bad about his ability, like it gave him an unfair edge and meant he was kind of cheating, he sought to hide it and doubled down on studying to improve his knowledge naturally. Unfortunately, the mutant hate group Purity ended up uncovering his secret and outing him as a mutant, causing him to turn to the Xavier Institute. He would lose his abilities on M-Day, but still remain a valuable hero with all of the knowledge he retained later becoming fully accessible to him again. Being a mutant with studious telepathic abilities, I also love that he was originally depicted as needing glasses. Though of course, in a land of magic and superpowers, he was later cured of his need for corrective lenses by mutant Elixir. Number 8. Elixir. Josh Foley is an Omega level mutant. He found himself at the Xavier Institute after being rejected by his friends and his family because of his mutant status. Sad face. Originally, he was part of the anti-mutant group, the Reavers, but discovered during a fight with some mutant students that he actually was a mutant himself, with healing abilities, which he used to heal one of the fellow Reavers who was injured in the fight. He tried to hide his powers as long as he could, but eventually he got found out and outed. His powers allow him to manipulate the biological structure of organic matter within a certain proximity to him. He can use these powers to heal or to harm others, and is also able to sense one's life energy, and even transfer life energy from one being to another. Force heal ability. Most recently we saw him in the House of X as a member of the Five, a group of mutants whose powers when joined together allow them to resurrect other fallen mutants. He made his first appearance in New Mutants Volume 2. Number 7. Abigail Brand. Abigail Brand was created by John Cassidy and Joss Whedon, and made her comic book debut in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3. She is a no-nonsense badass who is half mutant and half alien. One of the first to show us that even those with alien heritage can also be mutant too. Brand is best known in affiliation with SWORD, a division of S.H.I.E.L.D. that seeks to guard the world against and deal with extraterrestrial threats. SWORD stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department, in case you didn't know. And Brand serves as the commander of the organization, the head of the organization if you will. Her mutant power is contact pyrokinesis. She can produce blue or red flames on her hands and use those to burn through almost anything or anyone that gets in her way. So watch out for Abigail Brand, she'll mess you up. Number 6. Oya. Despite making her first appearance in Uncanny X-Men, the original X-Men series, Idye still didn't end up joining the group until 2010. Yeah, that original series went on for a long time. Idye made her first appearance in issue 528. Idye's powers involve thermal manipulation. She can convert thermal energy into extreme hot or extreme cold, but she does need thermal energy in order to be able to do this. She can't just create flames or ice on her own. Idye was discovered by the X-Men through Cerebra. When her powers activated, she accidentally killed her family by burning down her village in Oyo State, Nigeria. The military showed up seeking to stop and destroy her, but Hope and Storm rescued her. Yay! Number 5. Brew. Oh my goodness, I love Brew so much. I love Brew too much. Calm down, Amanda. So Brew has to be one of the cutest mutants on this list, just FYI. Brew is a mutant and a member of the Brood alien race. Brood are typically born with an urge to kill and consume. They do not understand compassion and empathy in the same way that humans do. But Brew was born with compassion, which actually made him a mutant of the race, and also helped him to become independent, separating himself from the hive mind and developing his own sense of self with the ability to make his own decisions. Well, you might not think of compassion as a mutant ability. For the Brood, it very much is. In fact, when young Brood are born with such mutations, they are usually deemed as a reject and killed. But due to the dwindling population of the Brood Queen allowed Brood to live. He studied at Jean Grey's mutant school for higher learning. And he wears a cute little suit. It's so cute. Never thought Brood could be as cute, but there you go. There you have it. anything is possible if you believe. Number 4. Genesis. Genesis was created by Phantom X using the World, a research facility created by the Weapon Plus program, which had been shrunken down to portable size. Think Hank Pym's Lil Quantum Lab in the Ant-Man and the Wasp MCU film, but smaller than that. Genesis, aka Evan Sabanur, is the clone of young Apocalypse. Phantom X created Evan to help overthrow Angel, who had become Apocalypse's Horseman of Death and sought to replace him. Evan was raised to be basically a good version of Apocalypse, what the X-Men villain would be like as a hero, if you will. Evan has already shown that he possesses some of the original Apocalypse's powers and abilities, including super strength and durability, matter manipulation, and energy manipulation, and it is likely that as he grows, he will develop even more of his abilities. Probably. Possibly. We'll see what happens. Number 3. Sprite. Not to be confused with the Eternal Sprite, this sprite is also known as Jiujing. In fact, she got her codename from Wolverine, who gave it to her in reference to not the Eternal Sprite, but to Kitty Pryde, who actually once went by the same codename. Upon having her mutant abilities manifest, Jia became determined to become the greatest X-Men ever, to honor her family and her country, China. Jia's mutant abilities are tied to her appearance. She has wings and resembles a fairy. Her skin is also durable and rock-like, and her body is somewhat morphable. Number 2. Shark Girl. Shark Girl was originally Ayer dos Santos, a young girl from Brazil who one day noticed an intense craving to eat fish. This was the first sign of her powers manifesting, which eventually resulted in her becoming a mutant were-shark. She ended up enrolling in the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning, but takes weekends off to return to her home in Brazil. Her powers allow her to resemble a shark while maintaining her own mind and memories, and not resemble a shark to the point that, she can't walk. She is more of a land shark usually, part humanoid, still able to stand and walk around on her legs and also use her hands. This form also enhances her physiology, giving her increased strength and speed and allowing her to breathe both underwater and on land. She was already a great swimmer, but her mutant powers enhance her ability even more. While in her shark form, however, she is also susceptible to going into a blood frenzy, like most sharks are occasionally known to do. So whatever you do, don't bleed around her. She might try to eat you. It's not her fault. Number 1. Amy. That's right, her name's just Amy. And we're going to finish it off with a sob story, to remind us of all the mutants we have both gained and lost over the years. Though with the 5 existing in House/Powers of X, maybe we'll get all those lost mutants back, eventually, at some point, unless things change. We'll see. Amy was a mutant who was trapped in the Red Skull's concentration camp on Genosha. She made her first appearance in Magneto Volume 3, issue number 9. Amy had illusion-based powers that became warped after suffering the horrors of the camp. When Magneto freed her, these powers started wreaking havoc. She ended up creating monsters and nightmares from others' fears and haunted psyches. Amy's powers allow her to create 3D constructs, and when these nightmarish constructs started to kill, it became apparent that either her or those whose nightmares she possessed needed to die in order to put a stop to her malfunctioning powers. Amy, being the angel that she is, decided to sacrifice herself, not finding much reason to live anyways, as tortured as she was. Poor Amy. Oh, she didn't even last 10 issues. I just feel really bad for her. No. Number 10. Eye-Boy. While Trevor Hawkins may seem like an absurd mutant all covered in eyes and whatnot, I wouldn't write him off just yet. His mutation revealed itself following the events of the Avengers vs. X-Men. He has died multiple times since his introduction in the Wolverine and the X-Men series, but he always keeps randomly coming back. As I said, you might think his death has occurred so many times because his abilities could be deemed as lame. What use is being covered in eyeballs? Sounds more inconvenient than anything. But his multiple eyes have actually granted Trevor some pretty cool powers. For one, he's been shown to be able to use his eyes and the multiple perceptions from them in target practice, making him a really proficient marksman. His improved vision also allows him to be better at reading people's nonverbal cues, giving him greater insight into those people that he interacts with, people or mutants. This also translates into battle by giving him enhanced perception when it comes to an incoming attack, being able to tell when someone is about to pull a punch, etc, etc. And of course, his eyes also allow him to see on both a microscopic and a telescopic level, meaning he can see a little speck of dust or see clearly something that is quite far, far away. If you're wondering why I looked over there, I was looking far, far away. That's me trying to have telescopic vision. It's not working. Number 9. Triage. Triage made his first appearance in the all-new X-Men series. His powers involve life force control over other beings, and for a while some believed his powers also granted Christopher Muse immortality. However, Christopher appears to have died after being forcibly cured of his mutation, which in itself ended up killing him. With his powers, Triage was able to heal others and could even reanimate corpses, though their state of decay would remain unchanged. And if he had been granted more time, who knows? He may have even been able to completely heal and resurrect people, restoring them to a more lively and maybe less zombie-like appearance. Too bad he died. Although, is he dead? Is he not dead? Was he immortal? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out more. Number 8. Hijack. David Bond was first introduced in Uncanny X-Men Volume 3. He was revealed to be a technopath with a proficiency for controlling cars with his mind. He could start an engine, unlock and open doors, and make them drive around. A pretty sexy power in my opinion, but then again I have an affinity for cars because I'm a weirdo. After David discovered his powers, he went to parking lots at night to test them out, but ended up being caught by the local police. At the time his girlfriend Karen was with him. Terrified, she actually outed David as a mutant, getting him into quite a bit of trouble. David was then rescued by the X-Men while trying to flee the police. He later took the codename Hijack. Appropriate, I think. His powers have also been shown to be able to manipulate more tech than just vehicles. He can actually use them to defeat Sentinels and even interfere with technological armor. Not a mutant that Iron Man would like to go up against then. Although Iron Man is a bit of a technopath himself now. I wonder who would win in a fight. But I think my money's still on Hijack. His technopath powers seem stronger. Come at me if you think Iron Man would win, but I don't know. Number 7. Forget-me-not. Propositional existentialism incarnate. To be or not to be? That is the question. With Forget-me-not you can actually never be quite sure. Although you probably would be more inclined to think that he didn't exist. Not to be in this case. Or scratch that. To not even know who I was talking about when I asked your opinion on if he existed or not. Forget-me-not's mutant powers are that he is imperceptible, meaning that no one even knows he's there or can sense him. This translates to technology, and this also goes beyond just the physical perception as well. Even telepaths struggle to take note of him. There are some weird exceptions to his power though, like Phantom X claiming that he could always detect Forget-me-not for some reason, and Psylocke has been able to find ways to locate him within others' memories through absences and holes that he leaves behind. But even Xavier himself had to set a once-an-hour reminder in his mind in order to remember Forget-me-not, and he was one of the most skilled at remembering him, so apparently other than Phantom X though, who could just remember him because his senses are real good. I don't believe it. I think Phantom X is fibbing. He's just trying to sound cool. It's like, I always knew he was here. I can see him right now. It's fine. He's overweight. Rude. Number 6. Gabrielle Kinney. Gabrielle Kinney has been through a series of codenames since her introduction in All New Wolverine in 2016. When Gabby was introduced, she got to play the role of Little Sis to another favorite mutant, X-23, Laura Kinney, who had actually adopted the codename Wolverine in that series. She was the all-new Wolverine, get it? See, Gabby is also a clone of Wolverine's, which makes her part of a weird kind of clone family. Ergo, her powers are also similar to those of Laura and Logan's. She has bone claws and a healing factor and enhanced senses. But she also has a different ability than her predecessors. She cannot feel pain, making her an extremely tough mutant to go up against. Also probably be hard for her to know when she's like getting close to being defeated. Like, I don't know, I can't feel it. Number 5. Rat King. A play on the Pied Piper, this mutant villain has the power of zoopathy, which allows him to control animals using music. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Zoopathy, zooapathy, it's kind of a weird word. He is the son of the Morlock Piper, whom he shares abilities with. When it was revealed that he was controlling local animals in Central Park into doing his bidding, Nature Girl and iBoy joined together to put a stop to him, freeing the animals from his control. Thus ended the reign of Rat King. Although, he's still around, just chilling in his flip-flops. Number 4. Trinary. Trinary is another technopath. Her abilities allow her to control various pieces of tech within her line of sight. Similar to Hijack, this also includes, but is not limited to, Sentinels. In fact, born and raised in India, after discovering her mutant abilities, she used them to steal money from the top 5 highest earning CEOs' accounts. She then transferred and divided that money up between all the working women of India. Is it weird that I kind of love that? Because I kind of love that. Very Robin Hood. This later led to her imprisonment, which she managed to escape. She also appeared in House of X, working alongside the team of Technopaths and Moira X, who worked on Project Sleeping Giant. Sleeping Giant was created to help monitor for the development of Nimrod tech, which would threaten mutant kinds and eventually humanity's own existence. Technopaths seem to be becoming more common in the mutant world, which I kinda love. It's like as our tech develops and grows, so too do those with powers surrounding it, who seem to be popping up more and more often. Trinary made her comic book debut in the X-Men Red series. Number 3. Maxime and Manon. Maxime and Manon are kind of like a mutant duo, so I thought I'd include them together. They're twins from the future, whose mutant powers activated before puberty, so they're kids. In the future, they attended the Xavier Institute for Young Mutants. However, they were then kidnapped and brought back to the present, where they were brainwashed by Ahab and used as evil little weapons. Scary weapons too, may I add. After being defeated, the two children were left in the care of Jean Grey. They had been good children before they were sort of corrupted, and it was believed that they could probably be redeemed. Their powers allow them together to severely mess with people's heads, telepathically. Maxime's powers allow him to manipulate people's emotions, while Manon can alter someone's memories. They both also possess some mind control abilities as well. A dangerous combination, as we saw in New Mutants Volume 3, issue number 4. If you haven't read that yet, go read it, because it's messed up, it's great. Number 2. Shade. Darnell Wade became inspired by New York superheroes, and he decided to build his drag persona around this inspiration, taking the drag name Shade. Also, can I just say that I love that Shade is wearing like a bunch of pouches like as a sash, it's amazing. Shade longed to star in a drag competition show, but her dreams were dashed when her friend Spillin' Tiana Taylor was chosen over her to compete. To add insult to injury, Tiana also spurned Shade on national television, ending their friendship. Shade returned to her apartment where the power had just been turned off, and it felt like she had, well, hit rock bottom when her mutant powers manifested. Shade's powers allow her to teleport herself and others to the Dark Force dimension. Since her introduction in Iceman Volume 4, she has taken the alias of Darkveil. Number 1. Gwenpool. Gwenpool has recently been retconned as a mutant. Due to her self-awareness of the world around her, she was able to alter her origins. In Gwenpool Strikes Back Volume 5, she uses her reality-altering powers to rewrite her own story and make herself a mutant, which Kamala Khan claimed had been the truth all along, and she had just blocked it out as a coping mechanism, making up the world of comics, which in truth was Gwen's real world. This allowed Gwenpool to move through a portal to Krakoa. Once there, she was welcomed by fellow mutants, including her ex, Quentin Quire. She even gave herself a House of X/Powers of X style character breakdown in one of the final pages of this issue. I guess we'll see if this ends up sticking, but for now at least it seems Gwenpool has joined the mutant ranks. And what a time to be a mutant! If there was ever a time I would want to jump into that world, it would be now. Or the 90s, when of course I could have all the pouches. Give me all the pouches, that's all I want in my costume. Number 10. Tempest. Eva Bell first made her appearance in All New X-Men issue number 1 in 2013. She could be viewed as one of the most useful of the New Mutants to surface in the past decade, because her abilities are so based in something that the X-Men and mutants and, well, sort of all of Marvel seem to get involved with more often these days. Time travel. Tempest has chronokinesis powers, which allow her to alter the way time moves around her in the area she is in, and allow her to create time bubbles which she can send through time for a short while, and even time travel fully herself. She has been referred to as near Omega level, and honestly with a bit more control over her powers, I could see her making the Omega list any day. Tempest is also one of the House of X's The Five, and helps to bring deceased mutants back to life by speeding up the growth process within their eggs. It sounds creepy when I say it like that, but more will be explained. Number 9. Morph. I really like this mutant because with him they found a way to make shapeshifting abilities unique again, and somehow make them even weirder and cooler at the same time. Morph, aka Benjamin Deeds, is able to shapeshift into those he spends time with, slowly, over time. So the more time he spends with you, the more he starts to resemble you. He really is the embodiment of what it feels like to live in somebody else's shoes. As he fuses with you, he takes on your look, your voice, and also exudes an energy that encourages you to trust him, to feel relaxed and calm in his presence. I just think this is such a cute way to imagine shapeshifting, and a useful way to use it as well, potentially calming your target into submission as opposed to causing them harm. It's kind of like the anti-mystique of shapeshifting, I think. Number 8. Gold Balls. Gold Balls recently became a very important mutant in the comics. He is part of a group known simply as The Five on Krakoa. Together he and Proteus, Elixir, Hope Summers, and Eva Bell can help to bring forth new life, or well, sort of old life really. They are able to resurrect any mutants who have been lost by cloning them and with the help of X, restoring their previous memories so that in essence, they kind of are the lost mutant returned. Gold Ball's power is similar to Minoru Mineta of My Hero Academia. Instead, however, Fabio Medina produces gold balls, hence his name. Originally these were simply seen as balls of various sizes which could be launched in a sort of an attack mode. Later it was discovered that they were actually infertile eggs, and with the help of the Five would become the home of unborn resurrected mutants who had fallen. Gold Balls made his first appearance in Uncanny X-Men Volume 3, issue number 1. Number 7. Ellie Camacho. Eleanor is the daughter of Deadpool and Carmelita Karma Camacho. That's right, Deadpool is a daughter. if you can believe it. Carmelita and Deadpool were being held hostage together, and fearing that she would die, Carmelita decided she wanted her last acts to be those of love. Her and Deadpool were rescued right in the middle of this act of love, but he still managed to get her pregnant. She initially raised baby Ellie on her own, but did track down Deadpool to at least get him to recognize his daughter and take some responsibility. That was during the time that he was actually working for Butler and constantly having his mind wiped. Butler saw the child as an opportunity, and before Deadpool could scare off Carmelita and baby Ellie, took a blood sample from the baby. This happened in Deadpool Volume 3, issue 34 out of 2013. And in this issue, we learned that the results of that blood test proved that Ellie had an active X gene, meaning she was a mutant who would one day grow up to manifest powers. We don't know what they are yet, but I'm sure they're gonna be amazing. Also, she's a mutant, so cool. Number 6. Nature Girl. Nature Girl was given her name by Eye-Boy. The two mutants also went on a bit of an adventure together while babysitting Jubilee's adopted son, Shogo. And the two were both a part of Jubilee's team of mutants to train at Kitty Pryde's Xavier Institute for Mutant Education and Outreach in Central Park. They are also really cute together, with Eye-Boy being covered in eyes and Lynn with her little antlers being a master of nature. Lynn Lee, aka Nature Girl's powers consist of an ability to bend nature to her will and communicate with it. She is able to soothe beasts, can control the elements, and can even heal nature. Truly the mutant we could all use right now, am I right? Come on, heal this terrible Earth that we have destroyed. Lynn Lee was also a student at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Number 5. Matthew Malloy. One of the most powerful mutants who kinda no longer exists. But he could still exist, I guess, if writers decided to bring him back. He was basically written out of existence when Tempest went back in time and prevented his parents from ever meeting, meaning he was never conceived and therefore did not exist in present day. This had to happen because Malloy proved too strong and unstable, with his powers being strongly linked to his emotions. He emitted a blast of energy that ended up destroying most of Atlanta. He also has strong reality warping powers, telekinesis, and telepathy. He could also even manipulate matter. It was even suggested that he was beyond Omega level in the comics, so although writers have written him out, I wouldn't be surprised at his power level if he didn't find a way to return to the comics. He didn't even make it to 10 issues in Uncanny X-Men Volume 3. Still, he demonstrated such power that I feel he's really worth mentioning. You know, we might see him again someday. Who knows? Number 4. Sapna. While Sapna may have only existed in corporal form for only a short time in the comics, it's possible she could actually live on forever in Magic's Soul Sword. Sapna was a young mutant girl who appeared to have magical powers at first. This intrigued Magic, who wanted to know the extent of the young mutant's powers, and so took her to see Doctor Strange. It turned out that she actually had language-based powers, but because her powers manifested while she was in limbo, this caused her to absorb all of the magical and demonic knowledge of that realm, meaning that she could control demons and open gateways to other realms and dimensions. Magic was attempting to train her when Sapna had visions of doing harm to Magic, and that made her run away. The being that offered her help only wanted to use her, and Magic was forced to kill Sapna with her soul sword. However, this also preserved Sapna's soul within it, allowing her to live on in spirit, sort of. So she's like dead, but she's in her soul sword, so, you know. Lives on in a sword. Sounds boring. Number 3. Bailey Hoskins. Bailey is a mutant I wish we got to see more of. He is the star of the one-off, non-canon comic series X-Men Worst X-Man Ever. I say non-canon lightly because this is Marvel we're talking about, so everything is kind of canon, just living in an alternate reality. Bailey currently resides in a reality which isn't really quite established, temporarily suggested to be the alternate reality of 656, a placeholder for now. Bailey's mutant ability is self-detonation, which he can regrettably only use once, as he has no resurrection or healing powers to protect him. Well, you might think that makes him the worst X-Man ever. I would argue it is the one he chooses to use that power on and stand up against that is actually the worst in that comic series, the vile fascist mutant leader Riches. Number 2. Hindsight. While Nathaniel Carver might not appear to have the strongest power just yet, I'm certain, like most underrated powers, that with more control over his abilities, he could prove to be more useful than originally anticipated. Nathaniel, aka Hindsight, has the ability to see one's recent past upon making physical contact with them. He can also use this ability on objects, allowing him to see any psychic imprints left behind on that object, a power that Jean Grey actually also has. But one of my favorite things about Nathaniel was his fear of these powers getting in the way of a relationship that he started developing with fellow student Benji, aka Benjamin Deeds, aka Mork, who I mentioned earlier. Fortunately, love overcame fear and the two ended up together, and are admittedly adorable together. Yay! Future gay X-Men, bring them on, I'm ready. Give me all the gay X-Men. Number 1. Moira McTaggart. One amazing revelation we got from the House of X Powers of X series was the truth behind Moira McTaggart. Moira has always been painted as an ally to the X-Men, but in House of X we found out what really drew her to their cause. Although Moira has been a long-standing character in the comics, first appearing in 1975, it wasn't until recently that we discovered she was a mutant. Dun dun dun! It turns out that her power is to live her life again, allowing her to see the different outcomes of different futures and allowing her to effectively alter her own fate as well as the world's with her life choices. Her resurrection power is an odd one, and Destiny confessed to Moira that she only saw her living a maximum of 11 lives, if she played her cards right. Still, when used correctly, it would appear to be a powerful mutant ability, as you see in House of X if you read it. If you haven't read it, what are you doing? Get out of here. Go read it.